Do you think the city's taking a big sigh of relief that the circus isn't coming to town and they can avoid this trial, or are they so embedded with the families there that they wanted more closure for them?
Moscow is a pretty complicated little town. It's in its own way, it's sort of like Twin Peaks. I mean, what you have is in one part of the town is a very liberal university. The University of Idaho is ranked as the biggest party school, number one party school in the state. The major church group in this town is sort of a right-wing fundamentalist Christian group that wants to create a what they call the American Redoubt. That's their word, which would be sort of a Christian capital of America. They were very anti-vaccination. They've been suing the town. There were death threats on the police before these murders. So the town is really, as one lawyer involved in the case told me when I was interviewing him, the town is at the verge of a civil war, he said. So into this town, which is already full of torment and tumult, becomes 4 murders. I think this town is ripped apart forever. And talk about cynicism. The university decides to get rid of the murder house. It's the university's decision. They were given the house on King Road where the murders occurred. Why did they decide to tear this down? Well, because when visiting families would come with their prospective students to the campus, one of the main tour stops was the murder house. And this didn't set the right impression. So in the zeal to get new students, they tore down this house, thinking it would all go away. But this is not going to go away. This is literally a curse on this town for generation to generation.
You've been in the game for a very, very long time. Very, very successful. New York Times. Now what you're doing with Airmail. How about you? You've had to dig deep into this thing, and you've seen a lot. You've talked to people. You felt the pain of the parents. You know details that other people don't. Has this affected you at all? Because there's a lot of disturbing elements in this thing.
It's been a very personal journey for me. As I said, I'm the father of 3 children. Your heart goes out to the parents. I mean, on one breath, you feel yourself lucky. Thank God this didn't happen to me. And at the same time, it's just hard to deal with what's happened to them. Also, though, there's a lot of antagonism in this town. For someone coming in, a New Yorker like myself, coming in, poking around, it was very difficult to get to the bottom of things. There also was a gag order. That's the other thing we have to see in the weeks ahead. The gag order was introduced not long after Kohberger was arrested. That was 7 weeks after the murders. That meant that the prosecutors, the law enforcement people couldn't talk. I'd gotten out there earlier, so I'd made some introductions. But now, perhaps the floodgates will open, and now perhaps make a call to a lawyer, make a call to a police officer, and maybe they'll be more candid. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so they weren't real welcoming to you, the way it sounds, but you had to develop some relationships there with law enforcement, the attorneys, et cetera. Did they soften over time, or are they still real anti about big city folk from New York, writers coming in and doing what they do?
I'll tell you one small story without mentioning names. When I first got out there, I was looking for a place to stay. So I'm driving around the campus area, and I see one motel that says discounts for federal and state employees. So I figured federal and state employees, that means FBI and state troopers. So I check in there, I go down to the bar with my American Express card, and each night, and I'm not saying an FBI agent can be bought for a free beer, but by the 3rd beer, he's becoming a little less antagonistic and a little more.
Well, that's a savvy journalist right there, man. You got to know what you're doing, right? And I bet you got some great information too.
I got some stuff. Yeah. There's still this is a story, the gag order was very tight. As things started leaking, the screws were turned by the federal government. Also, the federal government had things they wanted to cover up. For example, the way they got the DNA in this case. They went to DNA websites, genetic websites that had inventories of people giving in their DNA that they were prohibited from accessing, and yet they accessed them. This was in violation of the terms of the website. If one of the people on that website wanted to sue the federal government or the FBI, they might have a case.